All right, we're going to do a quick video about this Mark Zuckerberg buying UFC rumor because what? We're talking about one of the biggest potential acquisitions in the history of actually, this would be the biggest acquisition in the history of combat sports. Small problem. Yeah, I don't think that's what's happening, but there might be something even more exciting happening. Well, actually, I don't think that would be exciting at all. Actually, yeah, I think Meta buying UFC would be the opposite of exciting. I think that would be terrifying. Okay? I don't want the UFC anywhere near the Davos stuff. Nowhere near it. Nowhere near that stuff. Because inevitably, there's going to be a time when they decide that anything that leads to people being strong, dudes being strong, son, gotta go. And they'll just do it systematically, one thing by another. And the way that they do everything is they just buy everything. They just buy it and then they axe it. So yeah, I don't want anyone owning the UFC. However, you know, if Dana ever stepped down and, you know, the owners were like, wait, what are you going to pay? They're all $26 billion. They're all 26 billion. Yes, cash. Well, geez, where are you going to get it? They're all, we're the central bank, dude. We're literally going to just print it. But yeah, that's at least as of right now, that is not what I think is happening. But there is something actually incredibly exciting potentially happening related to Mark Zuckerberg. And if it's not happening yet, by the end of this video, someone who knows Mark Zuckerberg or knows someone at Facebook that can get this idea to him, you're going to do it. You hear me? I'm talking to you, guy. I'm talking to you. Now, before I get started, I want to tell you guys about the sponsor of this. Well, you guys know it's Yo Kratom. If you're a Kratom user, $60 kilograms, okay? There's nothing else I need to say. The Kratom is the bomb. They have like 20 different strains, $60 kilograms, gets here in 2 days. If you don't know what Kratom is, don't even look it up. And if you're not 21, you better not be on that website. YoKratom.com. Okay, anyway, so here's the deal. Okay, here is the deal. Now, what does Mark Zuckerberg own? Huh? He owns Meta. What does Meta own? Owns Instagram and Facebook. I know, Jesse. Gosh, does he own anything else that's important? Yes, he does. We're going to come back to that in a second. Now, Zuckerberg has been training mixed martial arts, right? Now, am I conspiratorial enough to think that this could all be some big play to do exactly what I just said at the beginning of the video, a long-term play as we, get rid of anything that makes strong people? No, I definitely am not above thinking that. However, Mark Zuckerberg 100% definitely is training because you can't fake it. Okay, you can't just pretend to be able to, transition to an armbar like that. Like you have to train muscle memory and just know it. You can't fake it. So he obviously trains. So let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and let's assume that he's a fan of the sport now. He loves it. Like everyone who trains, he loves it. So he's in the front row and he's there to watch the sport. Okay, so what else does he own? I mean, I'm sure he owns a lot of stuff, but I'm talking specifically about Oculus, okay? Now raise your hand if you own an Oculus or you've ever put your face in an Oculus. It looks like this, okay? This is what we're talking about, an Oculus, okay? In this is virtual reality. And so when you're in here, I'm in whatever, environment that I decide I want to be in. Now I realize if you've never put one of those on, that probably sounds crazy, right? Now people who have done virtual reality, they just understand. If you've never put one of those on your face, if you've never had a VR thing on your face, then I cannot stress this enough. It's going to melt your fucking brain, okay? It is going to melt your brain. Now I personally do not like spending a lot of time in there. For some reason, I just don't. Like right now, it's like games and stuff, shoot 'em up, bang. I don't know. Like it seems incredible when you first start, and then it gets really, 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 really boring to me. But the one thing that I have always said is that if you try watching sports, because there are all these like sports experiences, but none of them are live yet, right? It's like, oh, I want to watch a Warriors game, and they'll put you in what a virtual reality experience is from court side watching the Warriors. And it's an old game, right? It's like an experience they created. And you'll sit there and you're like, holy fucking shit. And it'll take you 1 second to realize that the future of viewing sports is going to be in VR. And if you've played any kind of games in VR, like there's this golf game that I play. you know, or I used to play before it destroyed my actual golf swing. So you go in there and you're on a golf course and you have this little avatar and then you've got 3 other people in your group who are real people. You're talking to them. Like you're literally just like in real time, like the same way I'd be talking to you if you were sitting in the room with me. You're talking to them and you look over and their guy is right there. You know, they have an avatar that looks, you know, as much like them as they've been able to make it. And you're just rapping out with them. And you're like, all right, hey, who's up? It's literally like playing golf. It feels like they're actually there. And when you play with your real friends, like friends that you haven't seen in forever, it's so bizarre. You're like, dude, it's like we're all hanging out again. It's amazing. It really is. It's not, if you've never played an interactive game like that, where you actually feel like where you're hanging out with other people in VR, then you can't really understand what the potential of this technology actually is. But if you've never watched a sporting event, same thing, okay? Because instantaneously, if you're a forward-thinking person, you know that the future of sports viewing is going to be, oh, well, what do we want to watch? Like, hey, let's watch the Niner game. It's like, okay, cool. Well, let's go. And then you'll end up in a private room with like your buddies sitting on the sideline watching a live 49er game from literally the same place that the head coach is watching it. And it'll feel just like that. The sound will sound just like it. It'll blow your mind. If you've never been in there, it'll blow your mind. Wait till you try Paige Van Zant's OnlyFans in there, you know, or other like-minded content like porn, you know, that'll blow your mind. Anyway, but sports is even better though. Much better actually. So I always thought to myself, I was like, so at a certain point, I'm going to be watching a live UFC event from the top of the cage, you know? Like literally, I'm going to be watching Francis Ngannou and John Jones fighting in the octagon from 6 feet away. I'm going to be watching it live. And as the technology gets even better, the graphics will be, it'll be like you won't be able to discriminate between real life and VR in a future state, you know, call it 5-10 years. And so when I see Mark Zuckerberg sitting in the crowd, I'm like, God damn, I really hope that when they decide to roll out VR sports, live sports, that where he starts is exactly where I'm talking about, UFC. Because the infrastructure makes the most possible sense to do it with UFC because you can sell it as a pay-per-view event. Like you partner with ESPN and UFC. You don't have to you don't have to solve for a million different games. Like think if it's college football, you have any idea how much complexity exists in college football? Like what games do people want to watch? Where do they want to, you know, like it's a million different things. You do it with UFC and you got one event, okay? One event. And people want to come in and do the experience and they can pay. I mean, Jesus, honestly, there isn't a price that you could charge. I mean, you guys don't realize it yet because you haven't done it. But when you actually, if you do, like if anybody who's done VR sports, like a live sporting event and actually seen what it's like, and you're a UFC fan, I'm serious. Put in the comments how much you would pay to watch a live UFC event in that environment from the top of the cage. There is no, for the right fight, there's no price I wouldn't pay, you know, within reason. I would pay $1,000 to watch 280 from there. I'm serious. In a fucking heartbeat. I'd pay $1,000 for that pay-per-view. So, yeah. So hopefully that's where this is going, right? Because not everything needs to be about conspiracy theories and the death of masculinity, which is definitely happening. But I do want you also to keep that in mind. If you ever hear that Meta is buying UFC, that should be the scariest thing you've ever heard. The scariest, you know? Because eventually, I've even said, I think that there's going to be a time when they're going to ban martial arts training. Now, that might be a ways off. But if the bad guys win, you know, some of you are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And I would assume probably half of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And half of you are like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, man, I wish I had your brain, dude. Or ignorance is bliss, dude. I really believe that. Yeah, but for the ones who know what's up, if they win with total top-down control, yeah, there's not going to be any of that, I would imagine. Your social credit score will not do well if you're training martial arts. Anyway, but I don't think they're going to win. So, all right, love you guys.